Bonjour et bienvenue to Straight Through the Channel. Today we are going to talk about the present tense, and first we're going to see how we use the present tense in French. We use it pretty much the same way we do in English, so to talk about current actions or state of beings, for example, il danse, il pleut, or je suis fatigué. To talk about habits, for example, il rentre tard tous les soirs, je mange une pomme par jour, or je suis toujours fatigué. To talk about general truths, so for example, la terre est ronde, la neige fond au soleil, and for proverbs, for example, on récolte ce que l'on sème. We also use it for an action or event that is going to happen soon. For example, j'arrive tout de suite, ton train part dans 1 heure, or ils vont à l'école demain. The one use that is slightly different from the English is that we can also use the present tense to talk about an action or event that has just happened. So for example, j'arrive à l'instant, or ils reviennent tout juste de l'école. The one thing you need to remember when you use the present tense in French is that even though there are 3 ways of expressing the present in English, there is only one in French. So if I say je parle français and you want to translate this into English, there are technically 3 ways to do it. I speak French, I am speaking French, and I do speak French. This may lead to a mistake of wanting to translate from English literally and translating I am speaking by using the verb to be. So you're going to want to try and avoid doing that. But now that we know when to use the present tense, let's learn how to use it. To do just that, we are going to start from the beginning. Remember, an action word is called a verb. Now, it doesn't only express an action, like he eats, it can also express a state of being, such as I am. The form of the verb taken directly from the dictionary, or the original version of the verb, is called the infinitive. So, for example, to eat or to be are English infinitives. In French, infinitives are single words, but they have different endings, and based on these endings, we have put them into categories to help us use them in tenses such as the present tense. And we came up with 3 groups. The first group is made of all of the verbs with their infinitives ending in er, except for one verb, aller, to go. The second group is made of all of the regular verbs ending in ir. And the third group is made of everything else, but we will focus for now on the regular verbs ending in re. You will notice that there are 2 verbs that do not fit into any of these categories. These are the helping verbs or auxiliaries, être, to be, and avoir, to have. So for now, we are going to focus on how to use our regular verbs in the present tense. And the technique for this is to find your infinitive and remove its ending, so either er, ir, or re, and then replace that by the present tense endings. So for example, for parler, to speak or to talk, that would give us parle when we remove the er, and then we add our endings. So, je parle, tu parles, il, elle parle, nous parlons, vous parlez, il, elle parle. You have the ENT at the end of il, elle parle, but you don't pronounce it. So you may have noticed that whether I'm saying he, she speaks, or they speak, it sounds exactly the same. Now if we take an IR verb like finir, we will have fin if we remove the IR, and then we add our endings. And that will give us je finis, tu finis, il, elle finit, nous finissons, vous finissez, and il, elle finissent. Again, with il, elle in the plural, so they finish, you do not pronounce the ENT. You're only going to pronounce the consonant that comes beforehand. Il, elle finissent. And finally, for regular verbs in RE, let's take vendre, to sell. So that would give us vendre without the RE. And then we're going to add our endings. So we will have je vends, tu vends, il, elle vend. Notice how I don't pronounce the last consonant here, so I don't pronounce the D or the DS. Nous vendons, vous vendez, and il, elle vendent. Again, don't pronounce the ENT for il, elle in the plural, just pronounce the consonant that comes beforehand. So, now you know the basics to use the present tense with regular verbs. The really good news is that the first group, so the ER verbs, represent 90% of all of the verbs, all of the action words in the French language. And the second and third group make up about 5% each. The bad news, of course, is that there are a lot of irregular verbs in French. Here are some of the most common irregular verbs. You will notice that they don't look like anything that we've just studied, except that the nous and vous usually have the ONS and EZ ending, except from faire. And we also have the present tense of our helping verbs. So être is je suis, tu es, il, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils, elles sont. And avoir, to have, is j'ai, tu as, il, elle a, nous avons, vous avez, ils, elles ont. You can download a little cheat sheet for the present tense on my website as per the link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. Merci et à bientôt!